Democrats and mayors of big blue cities say they're going to obstruct the ICE raids. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, it's a showdown. There is no question about it now. Showdown at high noon. It is one of the biggest stories in the country, obviously, under President Donald J. Trump. Finally now, the mass deportations have begun. And these have been targeted raids led by ICE agents across the entire country, but in particular, they are hitting certain key cities. And the cities are ground zero in the invasion of our border unleashed by Joe Biden and his previous criminal administration. Chicago, New York, Boston, Denver, Los Angeles. And so what we are now watching over the last 7-8 days is thousands and thousands, literally, murderers, rapists, pedophiles, and gang members have been now caught up, detained, arrested by ICE in raid after raid after raid. And to give you an example of the absolute sea change in administration, in leadership, in mentality, Kristi Noem, the newly confirmed Secretary of Homeland Security, was in New York City yesterday at 2 a.m. as part of an ICE raid which nabbed countless members of that vicious Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua. Remember them? They were terrorizing people outside of Denver in Aurora, Colorado. Well, one of their leaders was in New York City. This is a man convicted of kidnapping, of assault, of numerous other heinous crimes. They tracked him down to New York. Other members of Tren de Aragua, all of them in this country illegal, all of them dangerous, violent criminals, including in their midst, I kid you not, murderers and child molesters. Listen now to Katie Noem, essentially announcing there's a new sheriff in town. Roll cut 18, Mike.
Here in New York City this morning, we are getting the dirtbags off these streets.
Yep, dirtbags. I call them scumbags. You call them dirtbags, whatever. I say tomato, you say tomato. It's all the same to me. She put it, we're in New York City this morning, was it 2:30 in the morning, saying we're getting these dirtbags off the street. Now, you would think, I mean, to me, this is such a no-brainer. You would think that people, and by the way, in New York, in heavily minority areas, when they saw the ICE agents moving in and raiding, taking out these drug dealers, these violent felons and gangbangers, people began to pour onto the streets and start cheering. So the victims of illegal alien crime were literally cheering on the streets, clapping their hands, blowing, whistling, some of them blowing kisses to ICE agents, saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, we can get our streets back. You would think that the mayors of these cities, that the governors of these sanctuary jurisdictions, that the media would be celebrating Trump. No, 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 my friends. Oh, no, au contraire. Vive la résistance. They are now vowing that they are going to fight Trump and these ICE raids every step of the way. And in fact, all they have left, this is now the Democrat Party's argument. I'm not kidding. The Democrats are opposing the raids. The media are opposing the raids. And what is their argument? As I touched on it yesterday, they are literally trying to compare the deportations of murderers, sexual predators, drug traffickers, human traffickers, violent gang members to the Holocaust. This is what the media and the Dems have been reduced to. I'm not kidding. According to them, this is like rounding up those poor innocent Jews, millions of them like cattle, and herding them into gas ovens and concentration camps. This is how unhinged, deranged, and discredited, delusional, frankly sick, the opposition now to these mass deportations have become. And really, all they have left, this is all the Democrats have left. This is how morally and intellectually exhausted and bankrupt they've become. All they have is to call their opponents Nazis. It's really starting to wear thin. So, Homan, Nazi. Trump, Nazi. Kristi Noem, Nazi. ICE, Nazi. And it's not working. You can keep calling your opponents Nazis, racists, fascists. It doesn't matter. The American people see right through it. They see how pathetic it is. They see how desperate it is. They see how cynical it is. And they see how utterly absurd and frankly deranged it is. And it's not working. And so now, as they desperately try to protect their sanctuary cities, and this is now the question I think we have to ask ourselves, because what is now becoming very clear, and there's no getting around this, under Joe Biden and under Mayorkas, and Mayorkas in particular, I mean, he let them in. And he didn't just let them in. He knew where they were. These are not massive sweeping raids. And then they're trying to separate the wheat from the chaff. Where they're trying to say, okay, who's a violent criminal? Okay, who's a nonviolent criminal? No, what's amazing about these raids is ICE knows exactly who they are, where they're hiding, and they're getting them. Thousands every single day. They know where the child rapists are. They know their addresses. They know where Trent or Aragua are. They know their specific hideouts and addresses. And so, as the ICE agents are now admitting in the last 7 days, Biden knew where they were and did nothing. Mayorkas knew where they were and did nothing. And this is the most damning of all. To me, the local mayors, Michelle Wu in Boston, Adams in New York, Brandon Johnson in Chicago, the other moonbat crazy mayor in Denver, they knew where the rapists were in their own communities because ICE told them. And they did nothing. The murderers, the gangbangers, the child rapists, they did nothing. They allowed them to continue to exist and be shielded in their sanctuary cities, getting taxpayer-funded free food, housing, medical care, you name it. You name it. And so now, James Comer, as you know, one of the most powerful committee chairmen in the House of Representatives, has now sent a letter to 4 of the sanctuary city mayors. The mayor of Denver, the mayor of Chicago, the mayor of Boston, and the mayor of New York. Michelle Wu has now gotten a letter requesting that she go to Congress next month and testify under oath. What did she know and when did she know it? Why has she been deliberately obstructing federal immigration law? Why has she been willingly violating the law, violating her oath? And above all, they want them to hand over all communications that these mayors have had with non-governmental organizations, with local police, with state officials, with federal officials. How much did they know, along with ICE? How much did they know of the murderers and rapists and gangbangers that were in their cities, in their midst, and that they were deliberately coddling and protecting? Now Michelle Wu is going to have to answer for her criminal sanctuary policies. Adams is going to have to answer. Brandon Johnson is going to have to answer. They're all going to have to answer. They knew, and they did nothing. And now, in a matter, 7-8 days, Trump's ICE is sweeping them up one after another, after another, after another. My friends, what we are now watching is not just the greatest mass deportation in American history, but now the lifting of the veil on some of the most criminal, egregious, corrupt behavior by our own mayors in our own cities. More next. 620 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, so James Comer, Congressman Comer, very powerful House Republican, oversees the House Oversight Committee. He has now sent a letter to the mayors of Boston, Michelle Wu, Eric Adams in New York, Brandon Johnson in Chicago, and that crazy moonbat out in Denver. And all four of them, he has now requested that next week they testify, next month, I don't know why I keep saying that, next month that they go and testify in front of Congress and explain to the American people why they are overseeing sanctuary jurisdictions in open violation of federal immigration law. And in particular, this is what's gotten so explosive now. It's not just that the raids are taking place, and God bless Donald Trump for doing the raids. It's that it is now coming out, ICE is now admitting it, that under the Biden regime, Joe Biden, Mayorkas, his then Secretary of Homeland Security, knew that Boston, New York, Denver, Chicago, and so many other cities were completely infested with known murderers, gang members, drug dealers, pedophiles. They even knew who they were. They even knew where they were living. And they did nothing. They literally did nothing. And that these sanctuary city mayors apparently now also knew exactly where they lived. And they still shielded them and still protected and coddled them and still, unbelievably, allowed them to be getting free, I'm putting this in quotation marks because we're paying for it, taxpayer-funded, free food, housing, clothing, medical care, free health care, you name it. Now, Michelle Wu is in the hot seat. She was asked point blank, will you comply with Comer's request? Will you testify in front of Congress? Listen now to her cowardly answer. She's a coward. She's got a big mouth in front of the Boston Globe. She's got a big mouth when she's talking to Channel 4 or Channel 5 or Channel 7 or Channel 10 or the corrupt local liberal media. But when she's got to testify under oath, where they're going to be looking at documents, where they're going to be looking at what she was saying in private to NGOs and other non-governmental organizations and other local officials. Because now Comer's going to ask an obvious question. Were you enabling these illegals to constantly evade ICE? Were you giving them help to get out the back door? Did you know that they were receiving welfare money that these criminals had no right to be receiving? In other words, she's going to be in serious legal jeopardy. And it's not just her. It's Adams, it's Johnson, it's all of these mayors of these sanctuary cities. So now she's not so tough anymore. listen now to this. Will she abide by the request given by James Comer? Roll cut 21, Mike.
Doing here is working, protecting our residents and making sure that we're delivering services every day. So that's what we're focused on, and we will respond in due time.
Respond in due time. Yeah, I'm focused on my job. Yeah, you're not doing a very good job. Okay, Marxist Michelle. Seriously, Michelle Wu, you're not doing a very good job. Have you seen Mass and Cass? Let me just give you one obvious example. No, you don't see the homeless encampments. You don't see them shooting up on the streets. You don't see the drug addicts everywhere. You don't see the needles everywhere. You don't see the fentanyl and the heroin everywhere. No, you don't see that? Huh? I want you to sit back just for a second, okay? An illegal alien from the Dominican Republic. This story, national, not just local, national, was convicted of beating his pregnant wife to death. He beat his pregnant wife to death in front of their child. He only served a 17-year sentence. This is here in Massachusetts. And then he was paroled. And as they paroled him, he's an illegal. He has no right to be in this country. They let him out early, only in Massachusetts. A dead mother and a dead baby. They didn't even notify ICE. That's Michelle Wu's Boston. ICE, though, knew where he was, knew where he was living, and they grabbed him. He's now being detained, and they're going to deport his ass back to the Dominican Republic. I want Michelle Wu to defend this. I want her, under oath, to defend in front of Congress and the American people why she's allowing convicted murderers to walk on our streets. Your reaction next. 6:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, many of you are texting the Kuhner Man. You can text you can text me at 70470 saying, Jeff, can you just give a little bit more information about this criminal, violent, illegal alien that was convicted of beating to death his pregnant girlfriend in front of their 5-year-old child, that was let go, paroled. They let him out after only 17 years. Michelle Wu knew all about this, and they just let him walk. They literally let him walk the streets, walking the streets of Boston. And so, and this is one of the people now scooped up by ICE. So, and this is who the left is defending. This is what to me is unimaginable, unconscionable. So his name is Cesar Polanco. You can look it up. Don't take my word for it. Polanco, 59 years old. He is a convicted murderer who beat, apparently he was very high on cocaine and he was drunk. So basically he was fueled by cocaine and apparently drunk as a skunk. So he was on one of these rages and apparently in front of his 5-year-old boy beat his pregnant girlfriend to death. Okay, the man's an animal. The man's an animal. Forget dirtbag or scumbag. The guy's an animal. Now, he's an illegal alien from the Dominican Republic. He was paroled early, after only 17 years in jail. It's unbelievable. So, by the way, some of the J6ers got 20 years. One person, 23 years. And that person wasn't even at the Capitol. Okay, just to show you how insane everything is in this country, or was until Trump came. You kill your girlfriend who's pregnant with the child. You beat her to death in front of your 5-year-old boy. 17 years. That's good enough. But insurrection, 23 years. Okay, there you go. Anyway, but let that go. So they let him out. They didn't even notify ICE. Not only did they not, they refused to notify ICE. That means that Michelle Wu and others, Governor Healy, I'm not letting her off the hook, believe me, okay, they willingly allowed a convicted murderer and woman beater to roam our streets. And knowing that he's illegal, and they still refuse to tell ICE. And the big story in the country, according to the media, according to the left, is Kristi Noem. Why Kristi Noem, Jeff? Because she was on the ground. This was yesterday, or whatever. Yeah, yesterday, 2:30 in the morning, on one of these big ICE raids. This wasn't here in Boston. This was in New York City, where, by the way, they nabbed the leader of Tren de Aragua. Maybe one of the most vicious criminal gangs in the world. Okay, in the world. But she referred to these people as dirtbags. So according to the media, I swear to you, you don't refer to these people as dirtbags? Who does she think she is? This is a vigilante mentality. I swear to you, this is fascism, Nazism. They're worried that the head of the Department of Homeland Security, the secretary for DHS, referred to vile, criminal, illegal alien gangbangers as dirtbags, that this apparently lacked decorum, and apparently everyone has a soul, according to Nancy Pelosi, and you should never... By the way, they can call Trump every name in the book. Dirtbag is nothing. But don't you dare insult Tren de Aragua. Don't you dare start calling them dirtbag. Don't call this guy, this Cesar Polanco, okay, this murderer. Don't you call him a dirtbag, Jeff. He's an animal. Forget bag. Scumbag, dirtbag. He's an animal. Michelle Wu needs to answer for this once and for all. Listen to her response. She's asked by the media. Comer, chair of the Homeland Oversight Committee, wants you to answer why you allowed this Dominican Republic, this illegal from the Dominican Republic, this Dominican, after he was convicted of murder and paroled early, and you knew where he lived, and you knew he was illegal, but you still shielded him? Not only did you shield him, free food, hotels, free health care. You got our taxpayer money, had this guy living in comfort, all with your express approval? Listen to her response. Roll cut 25, Mike.
We are in intense and scary times for so many of our community members, and that is by design. It is intentional that the policies that have now been communicated, whether or not they are fully legal, and we see many of them working their way through the courts right now, including some that have already, even just in the first few days of this administration, seem to have been struck down, at least in the first steps in the judicial system. And on immigration, for example, largely what we have seen across the country in terms of the actions so far have mirrored the priorities and the same types of actions that took place under federal enforcement under the Biden administration. However, they're now including Fox News being embedded and going along on these actions, or bringing other celebrities to document what's happening, to create a sense of greater impact with that fear and destabilization.
This is unbelievable. This woman is crazy. No, really, she's the AOC of Boston. I'm telling you. This woman is nutty as a fruitcake. All kidding aside. This is the mayor? So she's now claiming when you have Fox, Bill Malugin or whoever going on these ICE raids, and she's referring to that, guy I've been talking about for days, that Haitian gangbanger. Okay, drug trafficker, drug dealer, notorious gangbanger. What is it, 17, 18 convictions? And they nabbed him in one of these raids, and he's like, F Trump, Biden forever. And that was right here in Boston. And of course, she knew about him. ICE knew about him. They all know. Now ICE is admitting it. They go, no, we knew where all these people were. ICE knew, Mayorkas knew, Biden knew, all these sanctuary city mayors knew. They didn't care. So, and how many people they killed? How many women they raped? How much drugs they flooded into our communities? How many young people died and overdosed? Who cares? Hey, sanctuary city now, sanctuary city forever. So now she's trying to claim, it's all sensationalism. We were doing this under Biden. Yeah, who were you deporting under Biden? Because I'll tell you, that Haitian gangbanger was yelling Biden forever. He wasn't afraid of being deported under Biden. But now, no, listen to this. The illegals are scared. They may be deported. I can't have fear in my community. So you are directly aiding and abetting illegal aliens? Criminals? If you come into our country and you break our laws, you're a criminal. If you come into our country illegally, you're a criminal. It is now the official policy, and has been, that Boston welcomes criminals, New York welcomes criminals, Chicago welcomes criminals, Denver welcomes criminals, and now you got a chance to flap your big mouth under oath in front of Congress, where you're going to be held legally liable. And suddenly, she'll get back to you if she's going to testify or not. They should send a subpoena. It should not be a request. She should be forced and subpoenaed to testify in front of Congress. If she perjures herself, you slap her with charges on the spot. Perjury on the spot. But I think we have a larger discussion here. How can we have lawless mayors? How can we have mayors who now we find out are knowingly protecting criminals, shielding and protecting not just illegal aliens, bad enough as that is, who, by the way, are mooching off of the taxpayer, bankrupting city after city, state after state. But now we find out you knew where the rapists were? You knew where the convicted murderers were? You knew where the gangbangers were? You knew where the pedophiles were? Jeff, the children. It's about the children. I don't think so. And you did nothing? They gotta go. They gotta go. Your call's next. 6:50 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask you. Should these mayors of these sanctuary cities, Michelle Wu, Eric Adams, Brandon Johnson, should they be forced to testify in front of Congress? Number one. And number two, should they be held legally liable for having deliberately imposed sanctuary city policies that we now know deliberately shielded murderers, rapists, and pedophiles? I say yes. What say you? David, our Western PA correspondent out in Pennsylvania. You're going to kick us off. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Good morning, buddy. How you doing? Jeff, the same could be said for our Antifa pro-BLM mayor, Ed Gainey, here in Pittsburgh, who used to be a state rep to Harrisburg, like your Bacon Hill is my Beacon Hill. But, yeah, Jeff, these people need to not only be brought up on charges, they need to be put in the gulag like the January 6 people were. Show them what it's like to be mistreated, right, Jeff?
Well, Dave, David, just to mention, Dave, just to mention your mayor out in Pittsburgh, apparently he's joining Eric Adams and Johnson and Michelle Wu. He says Pittsburgh's a sanctuary city and they're not going to comply with these ICE raids. And if they need to obstruct them, they will. So, Dave, I got to tell you, man, you've got resistance now right there in Pittsburgh.
For Ed Gainey, he knows damn well that our Allegheny County District Attorney, because you have like Suffolk County, that's Boston, we're in a county called Allegheny County, and the Allegheny County DA is a hardcore Republican, so he'll go after his ass. I guarantee you it, Jeff. I know he will.
Well, Dave, I'm just curious. Are you shocked? I mean, we knew that they were flying them around the country under Biden, Mayorkas and Biden, you know, these illegals in the middle of the night, in plane after plane after plane. They were flying them everywhere under the cover of darkness. So we knew this was going on. We knew they deliberately opened the border and allowed millions, almost now tens of millions, to invade and pour into our country. But are you shocked that they apparently now, according to ICE, all these ICE agents are saying, no, they knew this for years. They knew that, you know, these murderers were at this specific address. That Trent Dararagua, for example, had a makeshift nightclub where they would meet constantly, party, and God knows what they did in there, dealing drugs, doing drugs. And ICE knew, and they reported it to Mayorkas, reported it to Biden, reported it to these sanctuary city mayors, and basically they were told, leave him alone. Don't touch him. Turn a blind eye. Are you shocked that they knew and that they did nothing?
I mean, it's how the Democrats are, Jeff. It's their MO. These are the very people that they want them to vote for. Some of the rhinos want them here for cheap labor, Jeff, and the liberals, the communists, want them here for cheap votes. And, Jeff, on an unrelated subject, if I may, I'm going to make a bold prediction, Jeff. I think Tulsi Gabbard and what's his name, the FBI guy,
Kash Patel.
Kash Patel. I think they're going to need to be recess appointed, Jeff, because look at what happened with Pete Hegseth. I think they're going to have to be recessed, the both of them, Jeff. I'm just saying because the way the Senate's voting.
Oh, Dave, I agree. Dave, I was going to talk about this tomorrow, but you kind of, beat me to the punch here, which is fine. It looks like Susan Collins is going to tank Tulsi Gabbard. She sits on the Intelligence Committee, and it's 9-8. It's 9 Republicans, 8 Democrats. So if even one Republican votes against Gabbard, because all 8 Democrats will, then she can't even get out of committee. And apparently now Susan Collins has already told them, I'm a no. So Gabbard now may not even get out of committee, which means she won't even get to the floor for a vote. And to show you, Dave, how sleazy and dirty and corrupt they are, they want to do this vote in private, this Senate intelligence vote. So our senators, the 17 that sit on that committee, don't even have the integrity to do the vote in public so that we know how our senators voted. They want to do it behind closed doors, in dark, sink Tulsi Gabbard's confirmation, and not even give her a chance to get a full Senate floor vote. So I agree with you, Dave. I think Trump's going to have to recess appoint her. But ultimately, Dave, these rhinos are killing us. I don't care if it's Susan Collins in Maine or Murkowski in Alaska or Mitch the Squish in Kentucky. We got to primary all 3 of them. I mean, it's Judas after Judas after Judas. Dave, am I wrong?
Jeff, you were 1,000% correct. I'll steal a little of your thunder. I didn't mean to steal all your thunder about tomorrow, buddy. I'm not Thor the God of Thunder, but Jeff, I'll tell you this. Not only do we need to primary them, but people up in Maine, Jeff, there's a lot of French Canadians that are like related to me blood-wise. They need to smarten up or end up on their Leftist in French. So, but anyway.
Dave, thank you, my friend. I really appreciate it. And have a great day, Dave. That's our Kuhner Country's Western Pennsylvania correspondent. Anything happening in Western PA, Dave lets us know right away. Bill in Boston. Thanks for holding, Bill, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff.
Hi, Bill.
Good morning. Hey, listen, I just wanted to make the point. Hey, when Mayor Wu goes down to Washington, I hope that they remember the fact that she was part of that do not prosecute support, that the Suffolk County District Attorney.
Yes, Rachel Rollins.
Yeah. I hope that that's something that weighs heavily on Washington's mind when they're questioning her. And hey, just one other point too. To your point about knowing where all these criminals have been all these years. Can you imagine being these agents and having to basically follow these guys for years in hopes that we could get a change in administration and allow them to do their jobs? They must be so happy about all this right now. Anyway, great show. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it. No, I think the $64,000 question is whether she has the guts to go. A lot of people are, they're texting me or they're emailing and saying, oh, she's going to be forced to testify. I go, no. Comer did not issue a subpoena. He just issued a request. So she can turn it down. Now, if she's a person of integrity and you have nothing to hide and everything you've been doing is above board, and according to her, it's all legal and constitutional and kosher, then what are you afraid of? Go. But, I can play you more cuts. She's like, well, we're here it is. Here. Okay, here. So they got the letter. Okay, so they get the letter from Comer. It's 4 mayors, and really the 4 biggest moonbats in the country when it comes to sanctuary cities. Okay, so that clown in Denver, the clown in Chicago, the clown in New York City, and our clown in Boston. Okay, so the 4 of them, they get Wu, Adams, Johnson, and Johnston, I believe is the guy out in Denver. So this is what she says. Will you comply? Will you go and will you testify? You got a big mouth in Boston. Or you going to have a big mouth up on Capitol Hill? Listen to her answer. Roll cut 23. Mike.
We're still reviewing the letter and working through what all the details will be in terms of a response and if and when that happens.
Some other big city mayors have also received letters. Have you been able to speak with them at all? Do you plan to speak and sort of coordinate with cities that have these priorities?
Our teams are in touch with many other cities, and I'm in contact with other mayors as well. We're all experiencing a lot of the same sense of chaos and destabilization right now, whether it is the threat of federal funds that are legally obligated being pulled away, or the sense of fear that's being created in the communities. At the local level, we're focused on getting our job done every day. Our job is the one that people rely on to get their kids to school, to get around the city. We're looking at potential for a bit of snow overnight even, and so that's our focus, is making sure we're there to serve our residents. And it seems if DC is going to play politics, let them do what they're doing. We're going to stay focused on serving our communities here.
This woman's an idiot. I'm telling you, this woman's an idiot. I'm sorry, I can't even wait to let her finish. I'm sorry. We have an idiot for a mayor. I'm telling you this right now. Okay? I used to make fun of Menino. Remember Mumbles Menino? Menino, you know what? I want to apologize. I know he's dead. The poor man is dead. I want to apologize to him posthumously and to his family. I'm serious. Because Mayor Menino, Mumbles, was freaking Einstein compared to this clown right now in the mayor's office. Oh my God. Menino is a titan, was a titan compared to this. So you're going to compare dealing with an inch of snow. That's all we would, what? It's an inch. In some parts of Boston, literally, the snow falls and it melts. I'm dealing with snow. It's barely an inch. What are you talking about? You're going to compare that to shielding murderers and rapists and fentanyl dealers and pedophiles? You sick piece of you-know-what. Are you kidding me? Now, the other thing that she's referencing is Trump now finally, thank you, Jesus, is taking the advice that people like me have been giving him for a long time. Cut him off where it hurts. Threaten to restrict or withhold all federal funding. And that's what Comer now is. That's part of the letter. The letter says, look, if you keep breaking our laws and you keep violating federal immigration law and you keep deliberately shielding and coddling and protecting, forget illegal aliens, violent, dangerous, lethal, criminal illegal aliens, we're cutting off the spigot, man. You know, there'll be no money for the schools, no money for health care, no money for the roads, no money for your police or firefighter budgets. You're going to have nothing. And so come and explain yourself. And if you don't explain yourself, we're going to cut off the money. So that's why they're in a pickle. They don't know what to do now. But what scared them is that Comer also requested, trust me, this is what they're really worried about. All communications, quote unquote, texts, emails, you name it, between the sanctuary city mayors, I'm just going to use Michelle Wu as an example, but Adams, Johnson, all of them. What did you guys text each other? What did you guys text to your Democratic overlords in the Biden administration? What did you guys tell ICE? What did you guys tell these NGOs that you're paying billions of dollars to go and settle and feed and clothe and house these illegals? And I'll tell you, that's what their big fear is. Because I'll tell you what those messages are going to show. Everybody knows it. Hide them. Protect them. Don't ICE. Don't touch them. Leave them alone. But they're Tren de Aragua. They're MS-13. They're part of the Haitian drug cartel. Doesn't matter. Leave them alone. That's what they don't want to come out. Because that's aiding and abetting, my friends. And that could land them in jail. 617-266-6868 is the number. Nikki in Bradford. Thanks for holding, Nikki, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Nikki.
I thought my days of you amping up my blood pressure were over once my daddy Trump was back in office, but apparently not, and I need to go back to Alexa waking me up to a regular alarm versus your voice. Maybe. We'll see how this unfolds. Because now my blood pressure's through the roof, and it's not even, 8 o'clock in the morning. Isn't there some kind of oath, some kind of wording in the oath that both Michelle Wu and Governor Healy took to protect the citizens of their state first and foremost? There's got to be something in there. They're already not doing that.
Oh, there's no question. Oh, she's violated her oath. She also takes an oath, to uphold the Constitution of the United States. She's already violated her oath. Look, Nikki, really, we have a traitor in Boston at the mayor's office, just like they do in New York and in Chicago and in Denver and in LA and in Atlanta and in Pittsburgh. I'm just sorry. That's just the way it is. They are literally prioritizing illegal aliens, but it's not even illegals. That's the shocking part. Because everyone's saying, look, we thought, just to stand back for a second, Nikki, how do you know where all of the murderers are? How do you know that? In the last week, ICE is just picking them up one after another. Usually what you do is, because you just, oh my God, it's just, you're looking, you're searching. So you go, well, we know there's a lot of illegals in this building. So let's round up everybody in the building. And then we'll separate the violent from the nonviolent. That's how it's normally done. Not this time. It's tactical, surgical precision. That's what's incredible, is how efficient ICE is. All they're doing now is getting the gangbangers and the people convicted of kidnapping or assault or drug dealing or whatever, molesting children. So Kristi Noem is asking, Tom Homan is asking, Trump is asking, guys, this is incredible. It's like 100%. Like, it's like you're going into this address, this building, and every single one of them are violent criminals. And they're like, well, because we all knew where they were. And they're like, what? Like, yeah, we knew where they were. What do you mean? Why didn't you do anything? Because the mayors told us not to do anything. Because Mayorkas told us not to do anything. Because Biden told us not to do anything. And so, again, this is, Noem has been eloquent on this. She says, this is unconscionable. She goes, I'm talking to these ICE agents in New York. And she says, so let me get this straight. You knew there was Tren de Aragua in that building? Knowing how many people they've killed, literally chopped up, burned alive, how many women they've gang raped? Yeah. They're dealing pink cocaine, which is a very powerful narcotic. It's very addictive and it kills a lot of people. So you knew what they were doing? Killing our school children? Yeah. And the mayor, no, he didn't care. He knew, didn't care. Mayorkas, didn't care. No, we were told, stay silent or we lose our jobs. And that's why that's why they're all being rounded up. I'm snapping my fingers. They're all being rounded up because they go, yeah, we know where they are. We know exactly where all of them are. So they're just grabbing 2,000 a day. That's all it is, Nikki. 2,000 a day, 2,000 a day, 2,000 a day, 2,000 a day. And this is going to go on for months. I mean, that's how many they let in. And that's how many they deliberately protected. And the cherry on the sundae, to me, the adding salt, adding insult to injury, okay, salt to the wound. And they still allowed these convicted murderers, predators, pedophiles, free housing, hotels, catered meals, free health care, and they just let them walk the streets. God knows how many more crimes they committed against innocent Americans. God only knows. Nikki, this is one of the biggest scandals in the history of our country. Now, Trump's going to fix it. Trump's going to correct it. But my God, I want Michelle Wu under oath. I want Adams. I want them all. I want the mayor of every sanctuary city under oath. What did you know and when did you know it? Nikki, am I wrong?
I hear now. They're just lucky that, honestly, no one that I know and love got, violated or whatever by these complete scumbags. Let's keep using that word because that's pretty fitting. Because I would make Michelle Wu and the governor, I would be the loudest premenopausal Italian type A Republican voice they've ever heard. They'd go to work, I'd be there. They'd come out of work, I'd still be there. Like, they dodged one reporter asking one question if she's going to show up, maybe? No way. No way.
Look, Nikki, the good thing is it's all being exposed. I mean, it's stomach turning, but it's all being exposed. And it's being fixed. Thank the Lord, it's finally being fixed. Nikki, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Larry in Leominster. Larry, thanks for holding. And as usual, welcome.
Yeah. I've never seen Democrats this upset since Lincoln freed the slaves. Jeff, let me ask you a question. Give me a scenario. You're at the zoo with the family, and you see that big old Bengal tiger sunning himself on a rock. Would you jump into the cage and smack it on the gonads?
No.
Why not?
Well, Larry, I like my life, Larry.
This is pretty much what these Democrat mayors are doing. They're trying to smack Homan in the nuts. And they've already, they've woken up a tiger they didn't think would wake up. And they're really pushing their luck. Well,
Larry, look, let me ask you point blank. let's just take Michelle Wu, because we know her of all the mayors out there. We know her the best, right? Do you think she will testify, or you think she's going to chicken out?
Without a subpoena, I don't think so. No, she'll hem and haw, and she like she was saying. Well, we've got this air quote snow emergency for an inch. I've got to deal with my community, my constituents. No, they'll make all these excuses as to why they're not. But here's something interesting, Jeff. Did you happen to catch? It was that idiot mayor. I think his name's Johnson in Chicago. His own constituents showed up. These, not to play stereotypes, but they're all black, and they're all walking in, and they all have the same thing. They all have Trump shirts on of one form or another, and they are telling him to his face that Trump is going to.
Larry, do me a favor. I'm up against a hard break. Please hang on. I want to go back to Larry. No, look, there's a rebellion now on the south side of Chicago against their moonbat crazy mayor. And Larry's right. It's predominantly coming from black Trump supporters. They've had enough. 7:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I'm going to go right back to Larry in Leominster, obviously. But before I do, quick reset. So, unbelievable what is now happening the last week or so. Mass deportations under ICE are now nabbing about 2,000 violent, criminal, illegal aliens a day. And there's no let up in sight. Kristi Noem was on the ground overseeing one of those operations in New York City just yesterday. They nabbed the leader of Tren de Aragua in New York City. He has been charged or convicted of countless crimes, from drug dealing, kidnapping, assault, you name it. When they finally arrested him, the residents in the neighborhood poured out onto the streets and started chanting, saying, "Thank God you finally got him off the streets." And they were thanking ICE and hugging ICE. And, it was like they won the Super Bowl. I'm not kidding. And so here in Boston, this has now made national news. An illegal alien Dominican national convicted of murdering his pregnant girlfriend in front of their 5-year-old boy, beat her to death, was paroled after 17 years. ICE wanted him. They paroled him, and they didn't even let ICE know that this vicious killer was out on the street. He has now finally been captured in these ICE raids, and they're going to send him back to the DR. What is now coming out, ICE agents are now revealing, is that they knew where all of these murderers are, gangbangers, drug dealers, pedophiles. But Biden and Mayorkas and the sanctuary city mayors told them, leave them alone. You can't make this up. 617-266-6868. Larry in Leominster. Larry, we got cut off. Basically, you're saying that people like Michelle Wu and Eric Adams and Brandon Johnson out in Chicago, who, as you rightly put it, is facing a rebellion from many of his own black residents who are showing up with Trump shirts and Trump hats, that these people are really testing Tom Homan, and they better be very careful because Homan is not playing games. Please, Larry, pick up where you left off.
Jeff, the problem these Democrat mayors and some of these blue state governors aren't getting, they don't know how to read the room. Think about this. 4 years ago, with you or I, as white people, right, would you be caught walking the streets of Boston, Chicago, LA, in a Make America Great Again shirt or hat?
No,
4 years ago.
Well, you're asking to get beaten up. I mean, I'm not saying you should be, obviously, but you shouldn't. You should be allowed to wear whatever you want and not be accosted. But if you have any common sense, Larry, I'm like, what do you want? You want to get your brains beaten in? No way would I be wearing a MAGA hat or a MAGA shirt because there's a target on my back.
And today, the same people that would beat your butt are wearing them proudly. And Democrats just either they can't accept it or they're that delusional with TDS. And that's why they're having problems. And that's why if this trend keeps up, they're not going to do very well in the midterms either.
Larry, look, I agree. I think this Nazi, racist, Hitler, if this is, their act is wearing very thin and nobody's buying it anymore. Everybody sees it for what it is. They don't have any answers to our problems. And all they know how to do now is just spit on people and defame them and lie and smear them, demonize them with these ridiculous names. And the American people are saying, obviously, you have nothing to offer. You have literally no policies, no ideas, nothing. And nobody's buying the Hitler Nazi. They better come up with a new line, Larry, because honestly, this line is getting old, tired, and it's not working. So I'm with you. If they continue down this path, they're going to get wiped out in 2026. The Republicans are going to gain many more seats in the House and many more seats in the Senate. Larry, as always, thank you for that call. Rob in Newton. Thanks for holding, Rob, and welcome.
Jeff.
Rob!
I'm lying in the bed in the Newton Wellesley Hospital with a fractured leg.
What happened, Rob?
Black ice.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Really, a real killer. But listen, I want to do a public service announcement, if you don't mind, Jeff. Shame on Wu. Shame on Wu. Shame on Wu. We need, Michelle, you can have the money, but we need to put someone in charge of the money, and we'll dole it out so we can audit to where the money's going. Number two, I had contacted one of the local sheriffs, and I said, are you folks, because they just let the guy out, the Haitian guy, and I said, are you guys cooperating with ICE? Oh, absolutely.
No, they're not. No, they're not, Rob. They're such liars. But that's okay, because, Rob, we're taking names and kicking ass. 7:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to play the cut. Forgive me. I want to play the cut one more time because this is what's generating so much outrage among Democrats, the sanctuary city mayors, and the media in particular. Kristi Noem, now the new the Secretary of Homeland Security, was with ICE on the ground when they were doing their operations, their deportation operations up in New York City. As I said, they nabbed the leader of Tren de Aragua, among many other violent criminal felons. Okay, many of them notorious gangbangers and drug dealers. But she said this. Roll cut 18, Mike.
Here in New York City this morning, we are getting the dirtbags off these streets.
So she goes, I'm here in New York City this morning, and we're getting these dirtbags off the streets. Okay, audio quality is not the best. It's the best we could do. But there she was with ICE agents, and she was literally overseeing the raid. How dare you call them dirtbags? I'm not kidding. This is what they're mad about. So, I want to ask you, it is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Kelly Financial Services. When Kristi Noem described the criminal illegal aliens that ICE was deporting in New York City as dirtbags, was that inappropriate? Was it wrong? Was it inappropriate for her to refer to them as dirtbags? A, yes. B, no. you can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN is in national ER. You can also vote via X. I was very active again last night. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, KUHNER. And as always, the Kuhner Country Poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. To me, dirtbag is the least of what I would call them. Seriously. I mean, scumbags to me is actually, I think, even more apt. And honestly, animals. I'm sorry, animals. I would even go something else, but I don't want to get fined. So let's just stick with animals. I'm like, dirtbags? No, they're saints. No, they're dreamers. They're the best of the best. I mean, you can't make this up. 617-266-6868. Scott in Revere. Thanks for holding, Scott, and welcome.
Jeff, I love you with an go away, my friend.
Thank you very much, Scott. You know, I always say, well, you say with such gusto every time. Thank you, my friend. Scott, what do you make of all this?
Jeff, like you said, that's the kindest word I can think. And I use that word to describe the people who are running these cities. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. But you know what, Jeff? I'm more concerned about these rhinos that are literally ruining everything that we're trying to accomplish. And they're doing it with three of them. What? You got the lady from Alaska, Collins, you got the lady Collins, and you got Mitch McConnell, and you have rhinos literally screwing ourselves. Why would they do that? That just doesn't make any sense to me, Jeff, at all.
Well, look, Scott, let me just, I don't like Collins at all. I think she's toxic. I think we should primary her. Don't get me wrong. But with Collins, at least I see some kind of a logic to it because, Sandy, you may want to double check this for me, but I think what Harris won Maine, was it 6 points? It was 5 or 6 points. So Harris won Maine. So you can say, well, it's a blue state. Collins is a Republican. She's got to be careful. She's got to make sure she gets enough Democrats to vote for her. So she's got to play a bit of a game. Now, I'm not excusing her. I think we should primary her. I think she's a traitor. But at least I can see something behind what she's doing. But Murkowski in Alaska and McConnell in Kentucky, that's disgusting. Alaska went for Donald Trump 13 points. Kentucky, Scott, 31 points. 31 points. He destroyed Harris in Kentucky. Destroyed her. So McConnell is going to slap the voters of Kentucky in the face like this. Murkowski is going to slap the voters of Alaska in the face like this. They voted for Donald Trump. They voted for his agenda. They voted for his team. So, no, I think there's no question. Murkowski, she's outright, she's a Republican in name only. She's a Democrat who pretends to be a Republican. McConnell is a Judas. We all know McConnell is owned by the Chinese lock, stock, and barrel. And now, the few years he has left, all he wants to do is torpedo and sabotage Trump's administration. And to me, Collins, I've never cared for Collins. Collins, to me, is a spineless jellyfish who goes where the wind blows. So, to me, look, if she's going to sink Tulsi Gabbard, as she's vowing to do, then either John Thune should remove her from that committee or Trump should recess appointment Tulsi and we need to primary Susan Collins. I swear to you, I'd rather have a Democrat from Maine, who at least I know is my enemy, than to have this Collins rhino who pretends to be a Republican, but keeps backstabbing Trump, backstabbing us again and again. Scott, am I wrong?
Jeff, that's why I say what I say. Because I ask you questions, because you lay it out so goddamn beautifully. It's just crazy how smart you are. Thank you very much, Jeff, for your call. Love you, Kuhner Country. Love Trump. And God bless America.
God bless you, Scott. Thank you very much for that call. No, really, I mean, something's got to be done with them. Enough is enough. Like, the tail is not going to wag the dog. And I just got to say this. I have to say this. So, Tulsi Gabbard is a no, according to them, just like Pete Hegseth was a no. But Lloyd Austin, no problem. They voted for Lloyd Austin. But Biden's nominees destroyed the country. No, Buttigieg, no problem. Merrick Garland, no problem. Now, by the way, they're threatening to scuttle RFK Jr.'s nomination. That's another one now they're targeting, these rhinos. But that hack under Biden, Javier Becerra, zero experience in healthcare. Zero. Okay? The guy he's a political thug. That's what he was, a kneecapper. That's all he was. But he's okay to be Health and Human Services Secretary? Remember this line from the Kuhner Man. I've said it for years. No truer words were ever spoken. The first socialist was Lucifer. The first rhino was Judas. All they know how to do is stab their own in the back. Bob in Raynham. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Bob?
Good. So all of a sudden, Mayor Wu is...
Bob, it's not you. It's us on our end, or is it Verizon, or your voice? It's like I said, it's like, I don't know, C-3PO in Star Wars. Let's see if we can fix that connection. All right, go ahead, Bob. Let's see if you can sound like a normal person and not a computer.
Jeff, so all of a sudden Mayor Wu is concerned.
Hold on, Bob. Hold on. No, it's, when someone's calling like the kidnapper and like, we got your wife or we have your child, then they change their voice. That's how you sound right now, Bob. So let's see if we can fix that. Anyway, is that Verizon? All right. Bob, maybe the third time will be the charm.
Okay.
Yes, you sound like a human being. Go ahead,
all right,
Bob.
Good. Jeff, all of a sudden, Mayor Wu's concerned about the members of her community, but because now the illegals are part of her community. But she wasn't concerned about the real members of her community and the constituents when she was allowing the illegals in and taking the youth center away from the kids in Roxbury and overtaxing the school systems, overtaxing the hospitals, overtaxing everything. She had no concern then, but now all of a sudden she's concerned about her community. Now, obviously she's a traitor as well as all of these other people. And when are these people going to be taken to justice? They are traitors. Every sanctuary mayor's a traitor. Of course, Biden's a traitor.
Bob, you just asked a $64,000 question. Who's going to have the guts to tell the emperor she has no clothes? She says her community are the illegals. That's exactly the problem. Her community is us. 749 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, a couple lines are open if you want to jump on. Just very, very quickly. Did you happen to see Caroline Leavitt yesterday? As press secretary? Her first, back and forth with the Washington media and the fake news. She was absolutely outstanding. Holy shamoly. I mean, it was a beautiful thing to watch. She ran circles around him. again and again and again. I got to tell you, she took a blowtorch to the entire Washington press corps. And in particular, she was being pressed by many of these left-wing hacks going on about, well, when is Trump going to stop with these deportations? Okay, if you have to get rid of the murderers and the rapists and the gangbangers, but what about the non-violent illegals? You're not going to go after them too, are you? And Caroline Leavitt made it very clear that this is just the tip of the iceberg, that this is going to go on and on and on all the way through Trump's entire presidency. First, the violent illegals. But then after that, he's going to go after every single illegal alien. Listen to Caroline Leavitt throw down the gauntlet and say, when President Trump promised the greatest mass deportation in history, he wasn't kidding. Every illegal must go. We can do it the easy way, or we can do it the hard way. But they're going to go. Roll cut 3, Mike.
On day one, President Trump declared a national emergency at our southern border to end the 4-year-long invasion of illegal aliens under the previous administration. Additionally, President Trump signed an executive order to end catch and release and finish construction of his effective border wall. By using every lever of his federal power, President Trump has sent a loud and clear message to the entire world. America will no longer tolerate illegal immigration.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah. You had me at hello. Yes, now that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. 617-266-6868. And this is the checkmate argument. Because you have, CNN's losing their minds and MSDNC and the media, all these deportations. Oh, my God. Hitler, Nazi, racist. That's all. It's like a tape. That's their answer to everything. Where were they when Obama deported millions of illegals? Millions. Was he a Nazi? The media wasn't going hysterical then? Their hair wasn't on fire then? How about when Bill Clinton deported 12 million illegals during his 8 years in office? Was he's Hitler too now? They don't have a leg to stand on. And deep down, they know it. Hence, all of the yelling, all of the screaming, all of the name-calling, or as Shakespeare put it, all that sound and fury signifying nothing. John in, is it Willis? Millis, sorry. John in Millis. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, John.
Just let me say, you are the most wonderful thing to wake up to in the morning in a non-sexual way.
Oh, thank you, John. Well, look, I always tell people, I save you a lot of money on coffee. You don't need an espresso or a cappuccino or, you just got the Kuhner, man. I'll get you going. Trust me. But thank you. I appreciate it. Go ahead, John.
I'm going to tell you a story. And this is God is my witness, is the absolute truth. 2 years ago, just when the immigration flow was really starting to get bad, I play golf Monday through Thursdays. And I have one friend, me and him are Trumpers. We're probably the only Trumpers on the course when we're playing that early in the morning, but we don't care. So on a Monday, it's usually just us two instead of the regular crew we're with. And we get different people. And one day, I was wearing a back to blue hat. And the guy that joined us, he was in his late 20s, early 30s. And he says, are you in the police department? I goes, no, I have a friend of mine. I grew up in Hyde Park, and a lot of my friends either became police officers or firefighters. He goes, oh, really? So I'm texting that he's a police officer, so I start throwing names out, and he knows all these people. So we get more comfortable. We start playing, and we start talking. I go to him, I'm saying, like, how can you deal with all these illegals coming in and, like, just doing what they want? He goes, the worst part is we arrest them, and they're right back out on the street. He goes, aren't you worried about getting shot by these people because they feel they have no worry about being arrested and staying in jail? He goes, there's nothing we can do. My hands are tied. I goes, how can you stand working for that mayor then that backs this policy? She goes, the entire force hates her. They can't stand her. I goes, well, hopefully, she won't be reelected the next campaign. He goes, that doesn't matter. She's not going to be around anyways. He goes, the next presidential election, she's going down to Washington. I goes, what? He goes, oh, yeah, she's only doing a term here, and then she's headed to Washington. So they were already figuring that it was Biden, whoever was going to be elected, and she was going to get a nice, cushy job down in Washington.
Well, look, John, I wish I could say I'm surprised. Look, it's a riveting story. Please don't get me wrong. It's a great story. I know it's a true story because I've heard very similar things. But I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm not. And the thing about both California and Massachusetts, it's not just Massachusetts and California. And in this way, they're different than Chicago or New York, right? They're all blue states, sanctuary jurisdictions. I do have to say this about New York and Chicago and Illinois, forgive me, and New York and Chicago in particular, but New York and Illinois. At least they're moonbats. How do I say this? They're in it for the long haul. What I mean by that is they're going to stay in Illinois. They're going to stay in New York. They're lifers, as they say. But what I've noticed, Mass and California, they use their states as stepping stones for their own careers to go to the federal government, to go to the cabinet, to go to Washington, to run for the Senate, run for the House, get a job in some Democrat presidential administration. And so this is what I find incredible, is that both of these, the thing about Illinois and New York, they bring home the bacon. Okay, I'm against it. I hate the corruption. Don't get me wrong. But okay, I'm telling you, Illinois, Chicago gets bridges. New York City gets bridges. They get their pork barrel spending. They get something. They're lifers and they want to make sure they keep getting reelected and they keep bringing back that pork. They keep bringing it back over and over again. No. Elizabeth Warren is never seen I'm telling you, has anybody seen her in Massachusetts? What has she, in all the years she's been in the Senate? No, really. What has she concretely done for Massachusetts? Can you name me a single project? Markey, you never see him. The guy lives in Chevy Chase outside of D.C. I mean, it's like I don't think he can find his way to his house in Malden. So, look, the Bourne Bridge needs money. Nothing. The Tobin Bridge needs money. Nothing. What I'm saying is, at least Ted Kennedy, and he was a murderer and a drunk, and I could go on, but at least he brought back the bacon. Hey, you needed a tunnel. There was Teddy. You want to put up a school. There's Teddy. You need whatever. You need roads. You need whatever you needed. There's Teddy. They don't bring back anything. That's what I find incredible. So what happens, John, is they're just like, they destroy the state to burnish their ideological left-wing credentials. Michelle Wu is already thinking Congress. Michelle Wu was thinking a job in the Harris administration had she won in November. Maura Healey is already thinking, I'm not kidding, Congress or running in 2028 or a job in some Newsom administration or whatever in 2028. Nobody thinks about what's best for Massachusetts at all. At all. That to me is what I find most shocking. At least if you're going to vote for a left-wing or Democrat politician, for God's sake, at least vote for someone like, that will bring back something to your district. Okay, I can see an argument. But not with these mass hacks. These hacks here, it's all use the state to advance their own personal power or their own personal enrichment. That's all it is. So Warren is never here. Markey is never here. Most of the mass congressional delegation is not here. And I don't care. You name me, governor after governor, mayor, outside of Menino. Again, I got to give Menino his due. Menino was a lifer. Menino, Boston mayor's office, and that was it. That was for him the ultimate. But this Michelle Wu, she wants to be the next AOC. She wants to be the next Diana Presley. So use Boston as a social engineering experiment to say, yeah, I'm for illegals. Yeah, I'm for amnesty. Yeah, just run down the whole check. Yeah, I turned it into a sanctuary city. Yeah, basically, I ran it into the ground. So she can run for Congress or run for the Senate. That's what Michelle Wu is all about. Michelle Wu doesn't give a damn about the people of Boston. That's just something to pad her resume. And you're right. They know where all the murderers are. They know where all the gangbangers are, all the drug dealers are. And you're right, John. What I'm shocked at is, don't you care that people are going to die? Are dying? Like, don't you give a damn? They don't. They don't. That's the scariest thing. They don't. Because many of them, Michelle Wu is a sociopath. You can see it on her. Something's not right with her. The woman is not right in the head. John, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Bob in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
I called Jeff, and it's the first chance I had to give you my condolences about your dad.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bob.
If I had a job and I didn't do it for 4 years, would I be eligible for a pension, or would I have been fired already?
I think you would have been fired, Bob.
This guy in Mallorca, he's going to get a pension. Can we put a stop to that?
Look, the Republicans had their chance to impeach him, and they didn't have the guts to do it. Now, I hope they can do something in retrospect with these incredible revelations. And that's why they want the emails, they want the text messages. See, and that's why they're all panicking. Because I'm telling you, you're going to find, I guarantee it, Mayorkas told Eric Adams or Johnson or Michelle Wu or whoever. They're going to say, well, MS-13 has got a stronghold here, and they're located in this building. Leave them alone. You don't want to send in ICE? No, don't send in ICE. Now, if that comes out, and I believe it will, Mayorkas has got problems. So, no, I think the bigger question to me, Bob, why? No, really, you have to ask yourself, why? Why would you deliberately let in? It's premeditated. They knew they were letting in murderers. They knew they were letting in, as Trump said, violent gangs from mental institutions, from prisons. They knew that. So why would you let them in? Why would you allow fentanyl dealers from Haiti to come into Boston? No, and you know where he lives. You put him up in a hotel for free. You give him 3 square meals a day, catered meals a day. You know that. Maura Healey knows it. Michelle Wu knows it. Mayorkas knows it. At the time, Biden knew it. Why? Why would you do that? So you want fentanyl to kill our kids? And I'm sorry, but the only explanation that I can come up with is because you hate this country. You really want to destroy and kill Americans. I can't think of any other explanation. And let me just say this, okay? This is the difference between us and them. When I go to a park with my children, and I'm sure as many of you go to the park with your children, or if you're older now, when you had children, when they were younger, or your grandkids, whatever, and you see just another child without a parent, like whatever, the parent went to the restroom or out of sight for whatever reason, I know what I do, and I know what most other parents, when I'm at the park, do. They go, I'm sorry, where's your mommy? Where's your daddy? Are you okay? Can I help you? You're 8, 9, 10 years old, whatever. Like, why, are you alone? Where's your mom? Where's your dad? Just that. And we already feel responsible. Because as parents, we know what it's like to have children, or older, whatever, as grandparents to have children and grandchildren. How these people, now I'm just saying, this is how we react every day in our life, on our street or at a park. You know that there is a child molester in that home or in that apartment, a known pedophile here in Chicago. Hey, let's forget Michelle Wu. Let's go to Brandon Johnson. From Thailand, a convicted child molester, a pedophile. They knew where he lived. ICE knew his precise address. He was one of the first people they picked up. That's when they brought Dr. Phil along. He was stunned. I said, yeah, we've known about him for years. And he's like, and what did the mayor do? The mayor didn't care. Well, what did Mayorkas do? Mayorkas told us to leave him alone. And Dr. Phil, he's white as a ghost. He goes, but this guy's molesting our children. Well, yeah. And by the way, he was an internet predator too. He wasn't just walking the streets and nabbing kids. He was luring them on the internet. Now, you tell me, Bob, if you knew that there was a pedophile on your street or in your neighborhood, or a murderer or a drug dealer or a gangbanger, you'd be calling 911, you'd be calling the police, you'd be raising hell. They knew, and they deliberately didn't care. In fact, they told ICE, they told law enforcement, leave them alone. In fact, not even leave them alone. Make sure that free hotel. No, hey, $64 a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, okay? Take good care of my friend. Take good care of him. Oh, Americans need a place to stay. A vet is homeless. Oh, someone just a house burned down and they need a place to stay because they're out on the street. I'm sorry, that gangbanger takes precedence. That's the kind of psychopaths that we have leading us. The only time I've ever seen anything like this, God is my witness, are communists and fascists, Nazis, the real ones, not these imaginary ones in their heads. Communists do this. They will coddle and protect, feed, clothe criminals, psychopaths, murderers, because they believe it's politically advantageous to them. To me, they all should go to jail. God is my witness. Michelle Wu, Eric Adams, Brandon Johnson, Mayorkas, all of them in jail. In jail. You knew about all this? And by the way, remember, Mayorkas was telling us for years the border was secure. And we're like, what are you talking about? They're coming in by the millions, hordes of them. A border secure, border secure. Tren de Aragua is destroying Aurora, Colorado in real time. Mayorkas was out shopping for high-end menswear. Mayorkas was out shopping for $1,500, $2,000 suits. That's the man we had running Homeland Security. Bob, final word to you.
Hopefully we're going to start to improve, but I like somebody like Susan Collins. She's got to go, and the one up in Alaska. We need
Murkowski.
We need to be together with this thing and get it straightened out. And if they keep doing what they're doing, they should be voted out, like you said. So
they need to be primaried. I think it's now time. Elon Musk, he said this. You go up against Trump's cabinet. Everyone that goes up against it is going to get primaried. He needs to put his money where his mouth is, because enough is enough, really. And I got to say this about the Democrats, okay? To give the devil their due, they never stab their own in the back. Oh, it does. No matter how unqualified someone is, they don't care. They're thick as thieves. But these rhinos, they take pleasure in sinking Trump's nominees. They live to sink Trump's nominees. Bob, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, look, let me throw this log on the fire. Should the likes of Michelle Wu and Brandon Johnson, these mayors of these sanctuary cities, should they be arrested for aiding and abetting criminals? I say yes. What say you? 821 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, coming up at 8:30, my friends. Many of you have been asking the Kuhner man all morning. Jeff, the left is going berserk. The media is apoplectic over Trump's decision to freeze federal assistance programs, in particular grants and loans. And they're now claiming the sky is falling, the government is in chaos, and that Trump, I swear to you, is imposing again a Nazi dictatorship. So I'll be addressing that. I promise. It's a massive story. In fact, a Biden appointed judge, has now blocked this temporary freeze on some of these spending grants and loans. So it's already being blocked in court, but we're going to get to that in about 8 minutes. First, I want to take more calls. Cassandra in Brockton. Thanks for holding, Cassandra, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. All the best to you and your family, Cassandra.
To yours. One thing I want to say about this immigration thing, as myself, I am Haitian American, naturalized in this country at a very young age. I came in this country legally. So my thing is, there is a situation going on in Florida because I have family who's been in this country over 50 years in America. And it's a Venezuelan family. The gentleman is Venezuelan American and voted for Trump. And during an ICE raid was being done in Florida and Miami, they picked up his wife, which he filed for his wife. Because when you file for someone and that's your spouse, and they've been married for many years, he's just waiting for the date for her to go and swearing in to get her passport. That's all she was waiting for because they approved her. She didn't have her papers with her. They deported the poor woman. So there is some, weird things going on as they're doing the raid, okay? People who are legal are being deported because they didn't have a proper paper on them. So there is something needs to be done. I understand. I am for the horrible people, the murderers, the rapists, the child molesters, which there are a lot, okay? I'm all for that. But there's some good people that are legal, they are deporting. So that was my thing. So I don't know if anyone from Mr. Trump listening, they need to oversee on that because there are some good people. That's not.
Well, Cassandra, not only are they listening, but I'm sure they're taking notes. And let me tell you what they're very worried about. And this is why you should tell your Venezuelan American friend, I mean, look, it's disgusting. You never deport someone that's a legal immigrant. Never mind someone's wife, for God's sake. But if there is a silver lining, Cassandra, they're going to be very wealthy very soon, because she's going to have a massive lawsuit on her hands, and the government's going to have to settle. So I'm telling you, I guarantee you that they're taking notes, and they're going to be calling the ICE office down in Florida, and they're going to say, sorry, who did we deport? Are you sure this person is illegal? Because if this person is legal and you deported a legal immigrant because they didn't have the papers on him, or there was a bureaucratic snafu or a bureaucratic mistake, Cassandra, she's going to sue for millions, rightly so, and she's going to win. So I hope this is a one-off, as they say. I hope this was just a one-time thing. Because if there are others involved, there's going to be lawsuit after lawsuit. And also, it's just immoral. You come to this country legally, you do everything the right way, ICE should leave you alone. In fact, not just ICE, the government should leave you alone. So I'm very disappointed to hear that ICE did that, Cassandra. And I can tell you right now, they're checking it as you and I are speaking. And if they did, improperly, that was an illegal deportation. If you're deporting a legal immigrant, that's illegal. That's an illegal deportation. Then that husband and that woman and that family are going to have the mother of all lawsuits on their hands. So ICE better be very, very careful. Cassandra, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I promise I'm going to continue to take your calls, but it is a huge story. What is Donald Trump doing in terms of freezing all of these federal loans, grants, assistance programs, and is what he's doing illegal and vindictive, as the media and the Democrats claim? Tune in, back in 3 minutes. Don't touch that dial. 8:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, the media, the Dems on the warpath now over Trump's decision made just about 48 hours ago, straight from the Office of Management and Budget. And remember, he campaigned on this, to freeze federal assistance programs, government grants, and government loans. And this is, by the way, a temporary freeze. This is not a permanent freeze. It's not even a blanket freeze. So, contrary to what the media is claiming, again, they're lying, they're fear-mongering. Oh my God, he's going to freeze trillions of dollars in spending? Oh my God, people won't get their Social Security. Veterans are going to be denied benefits. Kids are going to go hungry in school. No school lunches. Relax. Take a drink. Okay, have a drink. Take a chill pill. So, number one, if it doesn't touch Social Security checks are still going out. It doesn't touch Medicare. It doesn't touch food stamps. By the way, Bill in Sudbury, Frank in Gloucester, all the moonbats out there, your welfare checks are still going. Okay? So, your welfare checks aren't being affected. So, most of the big spending programs completely unaffected by this temporary freeze. So, why did Trump do this? Trump did it to try to identify waste, fraud, and abuse that is rampant across the federal bureaucracy, that is rampant in so many of these federal assistance programs and these grants and so-called loans. And by the way, the freeze is just for a couple of days. That's another thing. They're acting like this is, I don't know what, he's going to be freezing this for 6 months. But it doesn't matter. Crank up the panic porn. Crank up the fear-mongering. Listen now to Chuck U. Schumer. This was just a taste of the Democrats' is hysteria, and there's no other word, hysteria, to Trump's decision to do a freeze on some programs and grants. Listen now to Chuck U. Schumer on the Senate floor. Roll cut 14, Mike.
Last night, President Trump plunged the country into chaos without a shred of warning. The Trump administration announced a halt to virtually all federal funds across the country. In an instant, Donald Trump has shut off billions, perhaps trillions of dollars that directly support states, cities, towns, schools, hospitals, small businesses, and most of all, American families. This is a dagger at the heart of the average American family in red states, in blue states, in cities, in suburbs, in rural areas. It is just outrageous.
And by the way, that was just the beginning. So he's a Nazi, he's a fascist, he's a dictator. They're trying to claim that he's violating Congress because Congress appropriated the money. So how dare he freeze some of the spending? That this is, he's usurping the power of Congress. He's making himself a dictator. Like we want. I'm not kidding. Social media. The biggest word trending yesterday was Nazi. The second biggest word was dictator. And that's why many listeners are saying, Jeff, I'm, emailing my liberal friends, or they're texting me and they're saying, you say, we told you the dictator's on the march. Okay, so first of all, just to set the record straight, the bulk of federal spending, Social Security, Medicare, food stamps, welfare, hasn't been touched, hasn't been frozen. So all the checks are going out. That's point number one. Point number two, it's a temporary freeze on some parts of the federal bureaucracy. Now, why? Why is Trump doing this? Because there is literally hundreds of billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse. And to just give you an example that they just spotted in 24 hours. So they freeze the spending and then they start looking. Okay, so what are we spending on? Let's see. Let's go through a spreadsheet. Here's what they found. Now you tell me if this is a proper use of our taxpayer dollars. $50 million for condoms, I swear to you, for Palestinians in Gaza. $50 million. Let me repeat that. For condoms to send to the Palestinians in Gaza. Oh, what the hell are the Palestinians doing down there? I mean, seriously, what are they, having sex 15 times a day? Who needs that? Who needs that many condoms? And by the way, why are we spending our money on condoms? If we're going to be spending money on condoms, at least can we give it to fellow Americans? Call me crazy. Instead, we're sending it to the Palestinians. So here's an example. Okay, you don't like that one. There are 75 agencies in the entire government. Listen to this. They found at least 75 that are receiving billions of dollars. In fact, 33 billion. If you want to know this, why is that number big? Because $33 billion is more than what Israel spends on its entire military. Its entire military budget is more than $33 billion. That's what we spend every year. Listen to it. Here it comes. For agencies that are defunct. They're defunct. He's saying, Jeff, what do you mean? They're defunct. So what's the money going to? They're going for bureaucrats and people who work in agencies that literally do nothing. They have no purpose. They have no mission. They're defunct. Somebody just forgot to turn off the money. And so they're still collecting paychecks. They still go into the office, but literally they're working for agencies that no longer have any role or responsibility in the federal government. This is literally pure fat, pure waste. $33 billion. You don't like that one? Okay. How about this? Millions and millions of dollars ribeye steaks for federal bureaucrats when they go out to eat or they throw like parties at the office. Ribeye steaks and, of course, lobster because they like to have surf and turf. Now, do you think we should be paying for fat cat bureaucrats to be stuffing their face with ribeye steaks and lobsters? How about, to me, you shouldn't be spending everything I just told you now. None of this money should be spent. But if you're going to buy steaks and lobster, you don't think the veterans who put their lives on the line for our country, how come we don't send them a couple of steaks and some lobster tails? And they can have a nice dinner at home. Wouldn't that be nice? Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is what they're just finding out within 24 hours. 24 hours. And these guys are screaming bloody murder? Up on Capitol Hill, Schumer is losing his mind? Saying that this is a dagger aimed at the heart of America? Because Trump is fulfilling his promise? That they're going to look at the entire budget, and this time they're going to get rid of hundreds of billions of dollars in fat, in excess spending, in pure fraud and waste. And that goes, by the way, to contractors. You know, they're going on about Meals on Wheels. Oh, Meals on Wheels. They don't know if they're going to get their money. Relax. Or better yet, school lunch programs. What about the money for school lunches? Tell me, did any kid go without a school lunch yesterday? Has any kid gone without a school lunch today? So what they're trying to tell us, listen to this with a straight face, is that the president is not able to fulfill a central campaign promise, which is to streamline the federal bureaucracy, to create more efficiency, and to end the massive ripoff of taxpayers. And that the president can't come in and point out agencies and areas where they're clearly misappropriating and wasting our money. And if the president dares to do this, he's the equivalent of Adolf Hitler? Loco. This is not going to work. And by the way, within 24, 48 hours, most of these loans and grants and assistance programs are going to be unfrozen because we'll know exactly where and what to cut. So let me throw this on the table. I'm serious. I can't believe I have to ask you this. Should we be spending $50 million for condoms to Palestinians in Gaza? I say, hell no. Schumer says it's a threat to democracy. I'm telling you, you just touch that bureaucracy. You just touch some of their power and wealth and privilege. And they go absolutely berserk. 8:50 on the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. So, the revenge now of the bureaucrats. Dems, the media going apoplectic because Trump is daring to temporarily freeze. We're talking a couple of days maximum. Some federal assistance programs, some grants, some loans. The big programs are completely untouched. The checks are still going out, as I mentioned. Social Security, Medicare, food stamps, right down the line, welfare benefits, all the welfare checks are going out. So, this is what a friend wrote me, texted me, in fact. Jeff, all over social media, the left is pushing the quote-unquote, "we warned you Trump would be a vindictive Nazi" line. People are losing their minds that Trump is taking away veterans' benefits, Section 8 housing. And he pointed to me, apparently there was this tweet on X by a Dem hack, one of these communications people for the Democratic Party, and that's when they give their talking points to their activists, and then these activists flood social media. And so basically the line is that Trump is the retribution, and that what we're now seeing is that he's exposing his autocratic, cruel, vindictive, evil leadership style, according to this communications director for the Democratic Party. That now Trump is threatening the American people's own vital benefits, Medicaid, veteran services, disability assistance, school meals for children, and educational opportunities in struggling poor, mostly red states. So Trump, they're saying, is now going to shaft his own voters. That's what they're now. He's going to take money from his own voters. So they're claiming now he wants to target Medicaid, school breakfast lunch programs, Section 8, education grants, state grants for child care, Head Start, developments, community development block grant program, yada, yada, yada. So to refute another lie from the Democrats and the media, the Office of Management and Budget sent out a letter to Congress yesterday afternoon, saying we're not going to touch Head Start. We're not touching the school lunch program. The kids are going to get their lunches. The kids are going to get their breakfasts. What we are looking at is some of the contractors, say for these lunches or breakfasts, who are charging ridiculous, exorbitant amounts of money. Now, something is not right. And so there's corruption going on. And they're stealing from the American taxpayer. That's what we're trying to investigate and weed out. So no one's going to lose a lunch. No one's going to lose a breakfast. So are they trying to tell me that in a government that spends $10 trillion, there's not hundreds of billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse? I just named you the most obvious. I mean, a cursory audit found all of this. And by the way, one more. You got to hear this. Many agencies are overfunded, and they know they're overfunded. And so what they do is, you know the expression, spend it or lose it? So there's 5 days left in the fiscal year, and they go, oh my God, we still have billions of dollars we haven't used. They start shoveling money out the door. Anything. It doesn't matter. Conferences in Hawaii. Whatever. I'm not kidding. Go to Boca Raton and everybody has to have a work retreat or whatever. In other words, we've got 4 or 5 days. Don't lose the billions of dollars in spending, because if you don't spend it, they're going to cut it from the budget next year. So they're just shoveling money out the door. Boondoggle after boondoggle after boondoggle. And so one of the points of the freeze is Trump is saying, whoa. Why are you only spending so much money in the last couple days of the fiscal year? And where is all that money going to? And now they're freaking out. Now they're yelling the sky is falling. You know why? Because they've just been caught with their hand in the cookie jar. What you're watching now is one of the biggest gaslighting operations you will ever see. To protect the bureaucracy, those that stand there and literally burn through our taxpayer money, waste our taxpayer dollars. Now they're claiming the government's in chaos, the government's teetering, children are going to go hungry, poor people are going to go without meals, that the sky is falling. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing. Except we're going to expose the waste, fraud, and abuse. That's why they're yelling. That's why they're screaming. Jim in Tingsboro. Thanks for holding, Jim, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Jim.
I'm sorry to hear about your dad.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Jim.
My condolences on that. I haven't talked to you in a couple of years, I guess, but you remember my wife died Christmas Day 2019.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
A while back. Yeah, it was a long time ago now. She's gone. She's not suffering from cancer anymore. Yeah, but, about this waste, fraud, and abuse, I'll tell you. Now, see, me personally, I am now legitimately disabled. I'm actually wheelchair bound from MS. Here I am, and I've been trying to get assistance on receiving a power chair, for my use to get around. And now it's been a game, over it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now I understand why, because they're just misusing funds and this and that. It's insane. But whatever. I don't go running to the doctors or anything else for a stubbed toe or whatever it may be. It's just like I said, they waste a lot of money in this state. And I'm relieved to hear that Wu and, our beloved governess is now got their feet on the fire. And I hope it stays there, and I hope the pain hurts. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I know exactly. Look, Jim, no one's going to be taking away wheelchairs or electronic wheelchairs from Americans who need them. That's not what Trump's going to do. It's not what he wants to do. No, let me tell you what he wants to do. He's asking another question. Are we giving wheelchairs or electronic wheelchairs to illegals? Are we prioritizing them over American citizens? In other words, for the first time in my lifetime, we have an accountant in the White House through Office of Management and Budget. He's not doing it obviously by himself, who's actually looking at all that trillions of dollars that they're spending. And they're finally asking, and what are you doing with it to benefit the American people? I'm sorry, is this helping our people, or is this helping the Palestinians in Gaza? Or is this helping the illegals here? And just to give you another example, Jim, they've frozen, outside of the money to Israel and Egypt, okay, that's it. Those two, Trump said, give them their foreign aid. Every other country in the world, they've frozen foreign aid. Now, it doesn't mean we're not going to send foreign aid. See, the media's acting like he's cut all foreign aid. No, we're going to see which countries are getting foreign aid and why. Now, let me give you my former country, Canada. People don't know this. Do you know that we send Canada, what is it now, 20, don't quote me on the number, but it's almost like $30 million, taxpayer money, to foreign aid in Canada. What the hell does Canada need foreign aid for? They're one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Like, what are we, insane? So we've got people hungry here. Our veterans are homeless here. We've got people like you, Jim, through no fault of your own, multiple sclerosis, for God's sakes, is struggling in a wheelchair, and you have a hard time getting a doctor's appointment. So we don't have enough to take care of our own. But I'm not picking on Canada. I'm just giving you as an example. We're going to be sending $30 million in foreign aid to Canada? And Trump is looking at this and saying, no. They say, well, Congress appropriated the money. I don't care if Congress appropriated the money. I want to shame Congress and saying, why are you sending that money? Who's benefiting from this? Because I'll tell you this, Jim, it's not from the goodness of their heart. So where's the kickback? Where's the corruption? Where's the bribery? Because follow the money. And that's why Schumer's losing his mind. Jim, final word to you.
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you, Jeff, it's absolutely disgusting what's been going on over the past, not 4 or 5 years. It's been going on and on and on. You know, Trump had this country running really well, you know, when I was capable of working. But now, unfortunately, I'm a cripple. And I'll tell you, I sit back and I listen to your show every day, Jeff. I wake up with your show every morning. And I'll tell you, without you, a lot of people would not be informed about this. And I'll tell you, I would never stop listening to your show. Your show is fantastic.
Jim,
it's exactly what everybody needs. You're awesome, Jeff. There's no doubt about it.
Jim, thank you. Stay strong, my friend. God bless you. Jim, please, it's been too long since you've called. All right, call. Don't be such a stranger, Jim. Call more often, my friend. Thank you again, Jim. 617-266-6868. Okay. Joining me now, as she always does at this time, my better half, Grace Vuoto. Dr. Grace putting liberals in their place. Grace, huge showdown up on Capitol Hill. Democrats are even throwing the impeachment word around to go after Trump, saying that these spending freeze on some of these federal assistance programs and grants, they say are illegal, unconstitutional, an usurpation of power. Chuck Schumer says it's a dagger aimed at the heart of our country, and that this shows he's a vindictive dictator. What say you, Grace?
Good morning, Jeff. That is all preposterous. First of all, Congress has failed to do its job for decades, and that's the real problem. He is going in there now to streamline America's finances precisely because the more we do so, the more charitable he can actually be. Because so much of this money is being wasted. That's the real point. It's not going to the people in our country in need. And Jeff, this is a moment where Donald Trump is more conservative than he was in the first term. Remember, the first term, he was not as conscious about government waste. I'm really proud of him. Every Republican should rally to him at this moment. Rand Paul, for years, has been putting out a report every single year about the excesses of government waste. And the way to combat the propaganda that the left wing is peddling now is go through these reports and tell the people what our government is spending on. In 2023, we spent $659 billion just on interest on the debt. That is unsustainable. We spent $6 million, Jeff, to boost Egyptian tourism. Now, how is boosting Egyptian tourism going to benefit any American? We spent training from the Department of Homeland Security. There's a program to help people sustain and build psychological safety in their own minds when they go to work, to be their authentic selves. I mean, this is outrageous. So the way to combat the propaganda is go line by line. Do you support this? And even the Democrats will blush. We sent 38 million people to dead people during the COVID pandemic. They were already dead and they were receiving checks. There was $8,395 spent by the Department of Defense on a lobster tank. You know, the Department of Defense, and they needed a lobster tank to house lobsters so they could give the troops lobsters. This is preposterous spending. Did you see the story? It's everywhere about the $50 million in condoms that they spent, or they want to spend. They want to send to the Palestinians in Gaza. I mean, if the Palestinians over me.
If they want to listen, they want to buy condoms, go ahead and buy condoms. But why should we pay for their condoms?
I was going to say, you know, when a bomb is just about to hit my house, the first thing I reach for is the condom. You know.
Now,
Jeff,
what do you?
They spent $200 million. I just want to say two more points. So you're going to just be floored. $200 million was given to famous artists from the Small Business Administration. $200 million was given to people like Post Malone, Lil Wayne, Chris Brown, and Smashing Pumpkins to sustain their small business, like their recording practices. This is preposterous. They're already multimillionaires.
I mean, this is unbelievable. The way they're just, brazenly, shamelessly just wasting our money. Flushing it down the toilet. Grace, I've got to ask you, Caitlin Collins from CNN attacked Caroline Levitt yesterday. You had others, NBC News, CBS News, saying that Trump is behaving like a dictator. This money was already appropriated by Congress. How dare he put a freeze on it? You have, their argument is separation of powers. You have different branches of government, and that Trump is overstepping his lane. That this money was appropriated by Congress. They prioritized the funding. This is not Trump's job, and ergo, he's a dictator. He's breaking the law. It's illegal. What say you?
Well, look, Congress is the one that has violated its oath to the people because they're stuffing all this pork in legislation, passing it in the dead of night, and we have been complaining about this for decades. So it is Congress that has overstepped its bounds, that has misbehaved, and that is involved in massive corruption. And Donald Trump is going to expose it and try to bring an end to it.
I want to get your reaction to another, it's a little bit off topic, but it really struck me. Caroline Levitt, who I thought did a phenomenal job yesterday. I thought it was one of the best press conferences I've ever seen in my entire life. But she addressed the issue of the drones. Remember, for weeks there was hysteria in New Jersey and in large parts of the Northeast over these drones, the size of cars and SUVs, just hovering, flying all over the sky. Well, she says, we got an answer. We know what those drones were and who they belong to. Roll cut 10, Mike.
An update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy.
Okay, so it wasn't the enemy. In other words, it wasn't China or whatever, but that these were drones under the control of the Federal Aviation Administration, authorized by the Federal Aviation Administration, and apparently it was done for quote-unquote research. That's the term they used, research purposes. What say you?
I'm very suspicious, Jeff. First of all, if it was done for research purposes, we should know what kind of research. I'm no guinea pig. I don't want any of my fellow Americans to be a guinea pig. What research are you doing up there? Are you spying on us? Are you developing more sophisticated spyware? What are you doing? We have the right to know. That's number one. So this answer is insufficient. Number two, I don't really believe the answer. I don't know if the Trump administration is being spun now and they're buying it too easily. They've got to dig a lot deeper. Remember, the administrative state is very cagey. They're experts in covering up. I don't believe the story, especially since you had so many mayors that were in meetings with the FAA at the time, and the FAA was telling these mayors, no, we have nothing to do with this, and we have no knowledge of this. So they were lying then, or they're lying now. The story really doesn't add up.
Well, the Biden administration lied about the border. They lied about Biden's cognitive decline. They lied. Remember those illegals? They were flying all, through the night, in the middle of the night, and they said it wasn't happening, and it was happening. And now they just lied to us again about these drones. To me, it begs the question, why was Biden lying and why was the FAA lying? We've got about a minute. What's your theory?
Well, Jeff, listen, you're asking the key question here because the research now that they're telling us was being conducted, that's alarming to me. So my theory is that there is something that they are deliberately, all of them now, deliberately concealing from the public, and we have a right to know what that something is. And if they're concealing it, it means it's probably controversial, meaning we might not all approve of it. Otherwise, why would they conceal it?
We have been talking with Dr. Grace, putting liberals in their place. Grace Vuoto. Grace, as always, dynamite stuff. And I hope we finally get to the bottom of this, because I agree with you. I think the Biden administration was lying to us. I think the FAA was lying to us, and we deserve answers. All right, Grace. Thank you. We'll talk to you obviously next Wednesday, same time, same place. And we'll obviously see each other later. I want to ask all of you, is Trump right to freeze federal spending on some programs to cut out the waste, fraud, and abuse? And the FAA says it was their drones. 9:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, couple lines are open if you want to jump on. 617-266-6868. Okay, I would be remiss if I at least did not touch on these two very important stories, which basically are part of Trump's larger effort to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse across our entire federal bloated bureaucracy. So as you know, Trump now is saying, look, I'm done with these deep staters, bureaucrats, political hacks who are sucking on the public teat and slowly bleeding our country dry. And so one of the things that Trump has now done, he hasn't just frozen or a temporary freeze on some federal assistance programs and grants and loans, but what he's also done is when it comes to John Bolton, and remember him, he was his former national security advisor in his first term, a globalist, a warmonger who wrote this tell-all memoir criticizing, defaming Trump, and using his so-called insider status and security clearance to blast Trump, and he made millions of dollars, and then went on CNN and MSNBC and all the networks peddling his book. Well, Trump came out and said, you know what? You want to use your security clearance to write memoirs, to stand there and sabotage and undermine American foreign policy and my administration and my presidency? No security clearance for you. It's been revoked. And your taxpayer-funded protective security detail, I just pulled it. Lindsey Graham, who's a fellow rhino like Bolton, as I said on X last night, they're both globalists. They're both warmongers. They're both deep staters. Lindsey Graham ran to This Is CNN and said on CNN, listen to this, that he, Lindsey Grahamnesty, wants the Senate to investigate Donald Trump. Lindsey Graham, that little rhino traitor, that backstabber, says the Senate needs to investigate Donald Trump. How dare he revoke Bolton's security clearance and pull his protective security detail? Now, as Trump rightly said, and I echoed that point on X last night, I want to repeat it. Hey, and by the way, Trump did it to Fauci as well, and Lindsey Graham is upset about that too. He pulled Fauci's. You know that we were spending $15 million a year, taxpayer money, to provide round-the-clock security for Chicken Little? For Tony Fauci? Just for Fauci alone, $15 million a year. Round the clock. I mean, what were they? Seriously, what do you have, an army protecting him? And so Trump turned around and said, no, I'm pulling his security. Why should we pay for Fauci's security? Why should we pay for John Bolton's security? And as Trump rightly put it, they've made millions and millions and millions of dollars. Pay for your own security. Don't put put it on the American taxpayer's dime. Why do we have to pay their security? Do you agree with Trump? Should he have pulled their security clearance? And should he have revoked their taxpayer-funded security detail, which is costing us a lot of money? I say yes. Let me throw another quick log on the fire. This story broke yesterday. The new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, basically following an order from Trump, has now done, yes, baby, the exact same thing to Mark Milley, to General White Rage Milley. So Milley now has found out his security clearance has been revoked. But even more, his taxpayer-funded protective security detail has been pulled. Now remember, he's another one who went around, flapping his mouth, bad-mouthing Trump, acting as the leader of the resistance. And as Trump said, you made a lot of money. You made a lot of money using your security clearance to go after me, to break the chain of command, to tell China and call them personally to say that if I ever made an attack on China, you would give them advance notice. You were one of the three people that refused troops on January 6th, the National Guard. So you made a lot of money being a so-called resistance fighter to Trump. Pay for your own security. Why should we have to pay for Milley's security? I agree with Trump. Should we pay for Milley's security? I say no. What say you? Should we pay for Bolton's security? I say no. What say you? Should we pay for Fauci's security? I say no. What say you? 617-266-6868. All of your calls next. 9:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868. David in Boston. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Hey, listen, before I comment on an experience that I had, and the reason I originally called in, Jeff, may I comment on you and Grace's interview that you just did?
Yes, go ahead, David.
Okay, Jeff, what I find disturbing is it's good that you and Grace focused in on the research, but you neglected what I find the most disturbing phrase in the White House news spokesperson's statement. You didn't comment at all on what I consider the most important phrase. It's even more important than they were doing research.
Go ahead.
That phrase immediately followed research, that they were doing research, and other reasons. What are the other reasons, Kuhner man? We want to know not only the research, but we want to know what are the other reasons.
That's an excellent point. David,
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. That's an excellent point. I got to say, David, I promise I'll give you all the time in the world. I thought it was a strange answer. Overall, I thought she did great. I have to say, I thought Caroline Leavitt was on fire yesterday. But that was the only one where I'm like, geez, you're being a little vague. I think you should have given us more and we deserve more. The only thing, David, you're right, the other reasons, but even that, they're doing research. And I remember, what is the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration? What are you doing research on with drones over New Jersey? What are you researching? What are you spying on us? What's the research for? And then, David, what gets me very worried is they were asked repeatedly, are they your drones? I could play you the cuts. They kept saying, no. The mayors asked them, are they your drones? No. The governor of New Jersey, to be fair, the governor said, hey, are these your drones? No. So if this is all innocuous, quote unquote, research, and as you rightly say, and other reasons, then why did you lie to us? Now, Sandy's theory is they're just a bunch of idiots. She goes, look, they're just stupid. And Biden lied about everything. Just for the sake of lying. They just lied because who knows what stupid reason they thought of. But I still want to know, what were you doing the research on? And look, my suspicion, David, I have no evidence for this. I'm just telling you, I know the Biden regime. They were spying on their fellow citizens. And I think they're trying to develop new ways and new technologies to perfect spying on their fellow Americans. I can't read the evidence any other way, but I digress. What say you, David?
Okay, Jeff, I'll say what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
I'll save it for some other call because I'll continue on this theme. You know something else, Jeff, that just is neglected? When that spy balloon flew diagonally across the whole United States of America, starting up in Alaska and across the whole contiguous 48 states, and then it was shot down when it was, approaching down around the coast there of Georgia and Florida. Nobody points out the fact, Jeff, that before Biden was willing to shoot it down, he had to give the Chinese spy balloon the opportunity to download all the intelligence to the Chinese spy technicians in Havana. That's what that spy balloon did. Biden let it go all the way, and the reason he finally shot it down after he was assured that they had downloaded all the intelligence to the Chinese spy masters in Havana, and there's 10 of them in Havana, and they're still spying on us. Now, how come they say, oh, Biden finally shot it down. Yeah. After they had the chance to
you're right, David. Again, you're 1,000% correct. Again, not 100, 1,000. You're right. After that Chinese spy balloon sucked up all of our military intelligence, and you're right, David, it went to one sensitive military base after another. And it just went state after state after state. And then finally, after it got all the information, Biden essentially, from an intelligence point of view, he allowed the Chinese to rape us. I'm sorry, there's just no other way. We were, from an intelligence perspective, we were raped. They came in and they took it all. I mean, they just took it all. And it was in the middle of the day. It was brazen. It was caught on TV. And him and Millie, that Judas, that traitor, and they just let that spy balloon go all the way till off the coast of South Carolina. And once they got all the information they wanted, and again, you're right, transmitting it then to their Chinese spy masters in Havana, in Cuba, well, now it's in the sea. Who cares? Now it's in the ocean. Yeah, then they shoot it down. Well, who cares? The damage was done. They took it all. They got all our information. And look, David, I want to read this text, okay? I'm very happy you mentioned this. And this is from Mark on Messenger. But frankly, so many others, Eric on Messenger, so many people on Messenger are saying, please, Jeff, say this. So I'm going to say it. This is Mark. Jeff, I apologize for being a pain. You should never apologize, Mark. But they should consider themselves lucky, meaning Bolton, Fauci, and Milley, okay? That Trump is only revoking their security clearance and their security protection as of right now, and not have them investigated and tried for treason and crimes against humanity. What say you, Jeff? I agree with you completely. Fauci in particular, crimes against humanity. But you look at Milley. You just mentioned the spy balloon, David. Let's not even go to the spy balloon. He calls his Chinese counterpart and tells them on the phone, if Trump ever decides to attack or invade China, I will give you a heads up first. And then, months later, on January 6th, he tells everyone underneath him, the military chain of command, you no longer report to the commander-in-chief, i.e. Donald Trump. You report to me. I am now the chain of command. That was naked, stone-cold treason. Treason. That's why Biden, pardon my French, That's why Biden had to pardon his ass. Because he knew Milley was going to go straight to the slammer. And that Milley could talk about all the crimes that Biden committed and the treason and the selling out to China. So I want to ask you, David, is Milley getting off light? Is Bolton getting off light? Is Fauci getting off light with just having their security clearance pulled and their protective detail revoked? Because frankly, I think some of them deserve a hell of a lot worse. What say you, David?
Whatever became of traitors facing a firing squad, Jeff? When's the last time some of these traitors have been executed, faced a firing squad? That's why people more and more, they think they actually think that I don't know that our country, that the soul of our country is like possessed by the great global super Satan or something. It's like this country's soul has become possessed by the great global super Satan.
Well, David, look, just to reinforce what you're saying, the Rosenbergs, who were traitors, betrayed our country and gave the Soviets, gave the Soviets essentially the secrets to the atomic bomb. What happened to the Rosenbergs? That's what we used to do to traitors. Now, I swear to you, they write best-selling memoirs. And they get gigs on CNN. And they're considered heroes of the resistance by the media and by the left. They're glorified by the Democratic Party. So that's how much America has changed in 70 years? And Trump is saying, no, those days are over. David, thank you very much for that call. Andy in Milford. Thanks for holding, Andy, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure, Andy.
Hey, to answer Chuck Schumer about how he's whining about the government being in chaos, the only thing that's in chaos right now is Chuck Schumer and his fellow kleptocrats. The resistance is in panic and they don't know what to do. And so I agree with everything President Trump's doing 1,000%. My message to him is keep going. Hey, Jeff, remember a while back when we had that close the border rally in Massachusetts?
Yes, I remember that, yes.
We need to think about doing that again. And, the border now is being closed as we speak. Maybe this time around we could call it the Take Back Massachusetts rally.
I love it. Andy, look, we need a rally in support of mass deportations. And, here in Boston and Massachusetts. And I think maybe we need a rally to call for Michelle Wu to resign. I'm not kidding. In other words, we have a traitor in the mayor's office. And maybe it's time that we put her on notice. We're going to protest her and her illegal criminal sanctuary jurisdiction policies. 9:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 if you want to be part of the show. Okay, this is another text from a friend of mine. Served in the first Gulf War. A real patriot. Manny. Jeff, first off, as a disabled veteran who receives benefits from the government, my check has not stopped. That being said, there are plenty of scammers out there, veterans or otherwise, who receive benefits that are not warranted. Clean everything up. In other words, he's backing Trump's temporary spending freeze, his government spending freeze, on some federal assistance programs, grants, and loans. And I'm with Manny and I'm with Trump. John in Lowell. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Sincere condolences about your father. Your honesty, your integrity, and your patriotism, Jeff, is a true testament as to who that man really was.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
You're welcome. From the bottom of my heart, Jeff.
Thank you.
Jeff, I had a conversation with an old man years ago, and he hated Reagan with a passion because the Reagan budget cuts affected his monthly income. And I looked at him and I said, so if I go down and set your house on fire, you're going to be mad at the firefighters that come to put it out? Or are you going to be mad at me? Jeff, the stare I got from him and the walk away was worth $1 million. Why are they getting mad at Trump for trying to fix what they've messed up over the years, Jeff? This is how insane these people are, Jeff.
Hey, John, I got to tell you, absolutely brilliant analogy. And John, let me just make a further point. Tell me if you agree or disagree. I would argue, outside of China, that really our existential threat is our debt, our deficit. We're going broke. We're the most indebted country in the history of the world. The debt is a ticking time bomb. And Trump's saying, are you all on drugs? If we don't get our spending under control, we're done, period. Nothing else matters. We won't have money to do anything. So not only is he the one that didn't make the problem and he's trying to fix the problem, but this is the one problem we got to fix. John, what say you?
We're not going broke. We are broke. Now, Jeff, my theory on the drones, I think we might have been lied to for the first time by the Trump administration. I put together a timeline, Jeff, of this. I have the Kung Flu. I call it the Kung Fu lung flu. It lasts 3 weeks. A lot of people I know have had it, Jeff. I put a timeline together. This pretty much started, Jeff, when there was word about those drones spraying. Go back and look at the timeline. 3 to 4 weeks before Christmas is when this started. And I just got off the phone with my doctor. I had a phone visit. She didn't want me to come in for obvious reasons. Jeff, they don't know what it is. So I think we're facing it and dealing with another manufactured virus, Jeff.
Ugh.
When's the last time you saw a sickness last 3 weeks, Jeff? That's how long this goes on for.
That's a very, very good point. John, as always, dynamite call. God bless you, my friend. John, please take care of yourself, okay? And keep calling. 617-266-6868. John, another John in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Jeff.
My pleasure, John.
I got 3 quick points.
Yes.
Do you remember when Trump was kind of messing with everybody, saying he was going to make Canada a state?
Yes.
Well, you remember what he said to Trudeau? He says, we subsidize Canada approximately $250 billion a year.
Yes.
And Trudeau, and he says, what do you think about me taking that away? And what did Trudeau say? It'll collapse our economy if you do that.
That's right.
So that's the one point. Second point, the condoms that are going to Gaza, they're using them to float bombs over the border into Israel. And they've been doing this for a while. So the United States is technically funding both Israel and the Palestinians.
You know, John, I got to tell you, many people have emailed me and said the exact same thing. You know, just when you think Hamas couldn't get any lower, like, I mean, these people, they weaponize everything. No, really, even condoms. Like, it's just, you know, here I'm thinking like they're all a bunch of, you know, like, well, what are they doing? How much sex are they having down there? And instead, no. You send them condoms, it turned out into something to, as you put, like a balloon to drop a bomb. I mean, those people really are sick and depraved. They really are. John, please, I know you want to make a third point. Go ahead.
Listen, we've already seen, you know, the FLIR from military, what the terror.
Viagra. That's what I mean. If they're doing this with condoms, what the hell would they do with Viagra? That's what I want to know.
Third point. I don't think Trump's done with Milley or Fauci. They also mentioned with Milley, he's possibly facing a demotion, which means they could drop him all the way down to lieutenant. And you know what that's going to do to his pension.
I hope they do it. John, I really hope they do it. It's the least that guy deserves. John, wow, what a way to end the show. John, thank you. Great call. Okay, my friends, big story obviously today is going to be the confirmation hearing for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And his family has come out viciously attacking him, Caroline Kennedy, and even the grandson of JFK. So I'll be watching the hearings, and it's going to be a lot of fireworks. So to RFK, stand strong, stand tall. We'll get you over the finish line. Bye-bye.